Welcome to the special edition of Doing Business Gently. This episode is a special bonus episode, and it's a break from the normal routine here, and the episode is going to be a little bit longer. It's actually a replay of a special event I hosted in July of 2026, where I invited several women to come into a really neat opportunity to have a panel discussion to talk about what it means to rest. And what does it look like to rest in different seasons? And I invited them to describe what does rest mean to them or look like for them. This event was called Selah Sessions, Permission to Rest for the Chronically Capable Entrepreneur. Now, I'm going to hazard a guess here, and that if you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, then you probably connect with and immediately understand what I mean by being a chronically capable entrepreneur. Chronically capable entrepreneurs are really good at what they do, but they forget how to rest. So this episode is your invitation to sit a little bit, enjoy hearing the perspective of other women about rest, and especially how rest has changed for them through different life-changing events. I pray this episode blesses you. Settle in and enjoy this special episode, Selah Sessions, Permission to Rest for the Chronically Capable Entrepreneur. All right. Well, welcome to Selah Sessions. This is Permission to Rest for the Chronically Capable Entrepreneur. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you to the panelists. They'll be introducing themselves here shortly. And I would just like to pray for us because this is an important conversation that a lot of us need to have as Christian women entrepreneurs, and we don't talk about it nearly enough. So we're going to ask God to guide our conversation. Dearly Father, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for the women who are logging in to listen now and also be listening on the replay, and that you would guide our conversation to help them understand what you mean by rest, what you mean by incorporating rest into our schedules, into our businesses, so that we are honoring the creation that you've made us wonderfully and fearfully, and we need to honor that, and we don't always. And we pray that our conversation here would guide women to understand what you mean by rest and what does it mean to rest and work from rest, and that you would be here in the room with us. And we ask that you bless the tech and that everything would continue working. And thank you for this time together that we can gather and have this conversation. This is such a privilege. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. Well, first we're going to have the panelists go around and introduce themselves. I'll start with me real quick. If you are new here, I am Marta Gertson. I am the founder of Selah Studios. And I love talking to women over 50 about their business, what's working, what's not, how they've changed, how they've grown, and most importantly, how to work from a place of rest. And so this is a conversation I am really excited that we are having. And so I'd also like to invite our panelists to come on. And Diane, if you don't mind starting, introduce who you are, what you do, and what's your favorite way to rest when you feel like it's time to add rest into your schedule.
I'm Diane Cunningham Ellis, and I am the founder of the National Association of Christian Women Entrepreneurs, author of 12 books, mastermind leader, but more importantly, I'm a fun chick and a courage coach. So my favorite way to rest is, I always take a bath every night. It's really important. And I read a lot of books in there. Am I doing that all day? No. But I believe actually if I can incorporate more fun into my day, that actually feels restful to me.
Yeah, and that's something we'll be diving into more, is that rest, a lot of us think of it as more sleep. It's not always sleep. So Danielle, could you introduce yourself?
I'm Danielle Ralston. I am actually a unlicensed therapist and the coach. I work with people with ADHD and ADHD specifically, and I work with probably 90% entrepreneurs. I have an online coaching community that we work with them and offering 10 hours a day of in-person support via body doubling, so that nobody lives life alone and can create community around getting all of the things done that we need to do. And I remind my community to rest often. My favorite way to rest is probably not what anybody would think of restful. It usually includes my laptop, my Kindle, my phone, my Switch, and watching a movie all at the same time to keep my brain as busy and as quiet as possible. I have to keep it super busy. So I've got music on, I'm watching a movie, I'm reading a book. I'm doing all of the things all at the same time, and usually probably writing some software or writing a book. I have a fantasy series I'm currently working on. I've written a lot of clinical books, but working on fun stuff now. So I'm always doing something, but that is rest to me. Sleep is very rarely restful for me.
Wow. How about you, Melissa?
So, I'm Dr. Melissa Oden. I'm the founder of the Adjunct Collective, and it's a community of adjunct professors and lecturers and instructors who I bring together to create community and support that their universities tend to not give them. Talk about needing rest. We do, because most of these folks work a full-time job and teach in the evenings or on the weekends. And so that's definitely a group. But really, for about 15 years now, I have studied and worked with women who have the female stress syndrome, whether they know it or not. And so this is really an important topic for me, not only professionally, but personally, as we'll probably get into in a little bit. But my favorite way to rest really is I have my favorite spot on the couch, and I have a specific outfit that I wear at home that is just so comfortable. Can I say that I don't wear a bra, right? Like, as soon as I come out of that,
That's okay.
That's very Russell. We're all women here. Can I say that? And
Yes.
I'm right now binging a show called Silent Witness, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but it's a forensic crime drama, and it's from the BBC, so it's pretty graphic. So that doesn't sound restful, but I really get into these shows because it's really about human behavior, and that's what I study. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Is my spot is on the couch, and I know my tea is ready. I'm in my most comfy outfit, and I am watching Silent Witness right now. So.
Yes. Well, and we got to ask, where's Oliver in all of this as you're resting?
Well, yeah. Usually when I'm there, he's in his little bed at the end of the couch where my feet are. Today, he's right down here listening to all of us, and he knows how to rest. He has no problem resting. So.
Yes, my dog, when I take her outside, she will know that I'm trying to go inside, and so she just kind of throws herself onto the ground and rolls over and needs me to rub her belly so that we don't go inside, because her favorite way is to sit in the sun. She likes to rest that way.
We should probably say, too, for those of you who don't know, Oliver is my 8-year-old orange tabby. So
yes.
I don't know if he has the brain cell today or not. He didn't have it yesterday, so I'm not hopeful for today, but we'll see. We'll see.
They keep us active, don't they?
They do.
Yeah. Well, one of the first questions I wanted to go over and discuss with all of you is that we do talk a lot in entrepreneurship about sustainability in business, but also sustainability in our pace. We talk about burnout, and that's a place I'd like to start with here. When you look back in your life and in your business, is there a season or seasons, I know for me it's plural, where you ignored rest and your need for rest? And what did that end up costing you as you did ignore that? Diane, if you wouldn't mind jumping in on that one.
Yeah, seasons, like you're saying, so many seasons where I didn't feel like I had the option because of the bills to pay, and the commitments I had gathered in front of me. And what it led to was addiction, and, alcohol addiction. And, thankfully I have 13 years sober now, but I mean, I was secretly drinking for a long time while I was holding this big weight of responsibility, I guess I would call it, because in my mind, I was always taught, be responsible, I was thinking about you're chronically capable, and just being the eldest daughter and being an Enneagram 3, and just this, help everybody. Who cares about you?
Yeah.
So, and I've thought a lot about I've questioned, this season or recently, am I burnt out or am I bored? And sometimes, I mean, I think it's a combination for me. There is certainly places where actually I don't think I'm burnt out. I think I'm just bored with those people or that situation or that way of serving the world. And it's important for me to ask harder questions when I am in these places, and because all of these things cost me a lot. They cost a lot. They cost a lot to not listen to them. But it does cost a lot to walk your way through to the other side from the burnout, from the addiction, from the depression.
Yeah, absolutely. Danielle or Melissa, would you like to follow up with that?
Sure. For me, I had a time where I was working in a position as a managing director to an IT company and trying to look the part of a managing director and be an influencer and a speaker and travel all over the country and be away from home, be away from my husband and my son, and wear all of the hats and run a full team and do all of the things. And my body decided I was done. In a very epic disaster way, I found out I had MS, and it shut down. My body literally shut down. And I realized that I had been addicted to that praise, the drinking while I was out. That was very much part of the place I was, drinking a lot, partying a lot, the praise of being a woman in IT and speaking and doing all of these things became an addiction for me. And my body just decided, and the Lord decided, oh no, we're going to stop you. And it tried to stop me with repeated infections and repeated this and repeated that. And I didn't stop. And I didn't listen. And the Lord said, nope, you're done. And we will keep you. He nukes my butt and keeps me in a bed now these days so that I am home. I am focusing on my walk with the Lord, and I am focusing on a business that is very different now and runs very different and has a very different philosophy than what I ever did before.
He can be stubborn, and that he needs to speak loudly sometimes for us to hear it. And, oh, that's what you're trying to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Melissa, what about you?
Yeah, so this one's really, really personal to me, which is why I'm so glad that you asked me to do this. I've actually not told this whole story in public ever. But my season started in 2014. I was an adjunct professor and trying to get on full time and doing a lot of things to try and get the attention. If you guys know anything about higher ed, you know, it's very male dominated. Women are not treated well, really, in higher ed, although there are more of us in higher ed than there are men, which is really strange, but that's just the way it still is. It's very male dominated. And so I was doing a lot of things. In the meantime, my marriage was falling apart. And so I was trying to deal with that. And it all really kind of all came to a head in 2018 when I moved jobs so I could take a full-time job at a different university. And my ex-husband and I divorced and thought everything was okay. But as I look back during all of that time, my body had been telling me there's something not right. There's something not right. But I kept ignoring it because I needed to push forward. I like Diane said, there were bills to pay. And especially being on my own at that point, that was really kind of at the forefront of my mind. Well, 2 years ago, October, it really all came to a head to me when my ex-husband committed suicide. And that at the moment didn't stop me necessarily. It affected me, but it didn't stop me because at the time I was filling in for a colleague who was out with breast cancer, triple negative breast cancer, in fact. And so I had been asked to fill in for her classes, which I gladly did because I love this woman dearly. And so I didn't really have time to stop. Well, at the end of the semester, about a month later, I did stop. And it was only because I ended up in the ER a week before Thanksgiving with high blood pressure. And I won't tell you the numbers because it would scare you. I really should be dead. That's how bad it was. I really just should be dead. 5 days later, I was back because it hadn't resolved. And so that was the beginning of the stoppage. For about even though I had to teach those same classes that next semester, I somehow managed to do that when I needed to do it. But the other times, I'm in the favorite spot on my couch, doing nothing but watching television and trying to recover from this burnout that I had somewhat brought on myself. Some of it was just life. But it got to the point where if the TV schedule changed, I would have a meltdown, which is funny to say now. But when you're in that situation,
Yeah.
it's not so funny at the time, right?
No.
And so I finally just was like, listen, something's got to give. And so I ended up starting to see a chiropractor and an emotional release doctor of naturopathy. And the long and the short of it is, here we are 2 years later, and I'm just almost back to where I was. Well, and I'll say where I was, that's not true because I would still be in that stressed out place. But they've gotten me to a point where I am dealing with life much better now. My vagus nerve has started to settle down and all of those things. So not paying attention all those years in that season of growth was detrimental to my health. And so I'm paying for that now, working on that. But the recovery process is always longer than it takes you to get to that point. And so
Yes.
so anyway, that's that season. And it's been a really, really long season, and I'm looking forward to being able to say one day that it's over. It's not yet. There's one more thing that needs to be put in place, but yeah, that's the story in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, Diane, you used the word weight, that you felt the weight, and all of you have described that weight. For me recently, my 2025 was probably one of the hardest years I've ever experienced. My mother's health declined rapidly. Her Alzheimer's escalated to the point by March, I lost track of the ER visits. I lost track about 12. That include multiple hospital stays, an emergency move to memory care. And same thing, that weight of knowing that she was my number one priority. I was advocating for her left and right. Didn't always feel I could leave her there by herself a lot of times because I didn't think she was being cared for correctly, and had to decide, do I leave her there and still monitor, or do I try to find her a new place and disrupt her even further? And would the new place even be better than the current place? Yeah. So that was a season that rest. Sometimes I didn't have a choice. My body said, nope, you are done. And I found that she did pass away earlier this year, and that the further I get away from that, the tireder I am. And that weight is finally starting to lift, partly because I'm acknowledging the tiredness and how it's time to do something differently. So that you're using the word weight, Diane, really, that really kind of, yeah, that's what it feels like. And there's a consequence when we let that weight sit there for too long. And all of us have described here is that it really wasn't a weight that rest, just sleeping more, could fix. It's a lot deeper than that. So when you are looking at this need to, either your body is shutting down because you have no choice, or the Lord saying, hey, hello, I'm waving my hands and you're not paying attention. What does rest mean to you beyond sleep? And especially when it comes to, dealing with health problems, dealing with moving, dealing with family issues, what does rest look like for you beyond just needing more sleep? And anyone can jump in here and start.
I'll go ahead. Oh, Danielle, go ahead.
So for me, it looks very differently. It looks like, because I have such a hard time with this, it looks like me asking others to help in the rest, allowing my community to support me, take things off my plate, because I'm not going to make the right decision there. I'm going to still hoard my things that I do and try to hold on and keep all the balls going in the air and all of that. But by reaching out to my community and allowing them to see me, hold me, take things from me that can be taken, and allowing me to just step back and be held by somebody else is a huge part of that rest. And that includes my husband in that, allowing my husband to give me that rest.
Sorry, I had my phone turned off, but it's still ringing. Okay. Anyway, now it's really off. And that's hard. That's hard for independent Christian women entrepreneurs to ask for help. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. Yeah. Melissa or Diane?
Go ahead, Diane. You were going to jump in.
Sure. Yeah. I totally relate to what you just said, Danielle, and just that being seen, being vulnerable, being seen, being confused. Like, this doesn't answer your question, Marta, but I feel I will answer it. I will
That's
answer it.
okay.
It's just the vulnerability of not knowing what we're doing, and also like doing that in public. Oh my gosh, doing it, and I'm doing it right now. But what I wanted to answer for your question is, and I alluded to this before, fun and play. Really, I need them. They are healing to me. But I also wanted to, I had a conversation this morning with somebody that barely knows me, like that I talk to maybe once a year, and he sent me a Voxer message about one of my recent reels. And it was so powerful. He was just talking to me about, Diane, you are built for connection. And he's right. He's right. And so how that resting to me is this connecting right here. This is giving me life, playing, fun. But what might look like, oh, she's a workaholic. And this is where I need to like spend some time thinking through this. He was reminding me, reflecting to me, really, like, you being with people is your rest, is your rejuvenation. And yeah, because I'm an extrovert. And so sitting over here thinking I'm working, like thinking I'm working, posting, and thinking I need to type an email is draining. That's not giving me life. So how can I add more play, fun, community gatherings to my schedule? Because I know that will fuel me better than a nap. Not that I can't take a nap, but allowing that to just be what it is, instead of questioning. Here's the exhausting part, and I think we can all relate. Questioning what comes natural, questioning my very existence, questioning how she does it and how I think how it happens naturally for me. Questioning play, questioning hula hooping on a video, questioning like that's the part that like makes me want to quit my whole business. Just give it up. Hey, I can't do any of this anymore. Because if it's not fun, why in the heck am I still doing it? I could work down the street. I could go get a job. And I know we all think about it, going down the street and getting a job, like slinging coffee across, or, passing out the books at the bookstore. Because it's like, oh, okay, that might actually be interesting to me at this point.
Yeah, I feel you on that, Diane. So I have a Versona where Versona is and Cato are where I buy my clothes, and I have one within walking distance of me right now. And I'm like, maybe I will just go manage a Versona and just leave my work at home. But I don't know. To answer your question, Marta, and you think that's funny. I don't know. You may see me. I don't know.
We've all been there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
To answer your question, though, I think for me, rest means a couple of things. One makes a whole lot of sense to most people, and the other one might not, but I'll make the connection. One, since I started my doctorate back in 2008, I guess it was, I started working 7 days a week because I had to. I was working full time when I started my doctorate, and I had no choice. But I got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so I backed off to 4 nights a week, right? I mean, I had this very tight schedule, and it's the one that I had created for myself when I was doing my doctorate because it was online. I had to be very disciplined to do it. And when I had my episode a couple of years ago where I was in the hospital a couple of times, I decided something had to give. And so right now, rest for me looks like once I leave my office at 5 o'clock, I don't pick anything back up if I don't have to. That's been really hard for me. It's easy for me to say, but it's been very hard for me because I too love my work. Whether it's the students that I'm teaching or the consulting business that I've had or building this community with my adjuncts, I love what I do. And I find my identity and my value in that. Whether that's right or wrong is not the point. The point is that's what it's been. So right now, because I've been in this season of rest for the last couple of years, I don't work. I have kept myself on very short days. So I typically start around 11 in the morning and finish around 5 and I'm done. Am I okay with that? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But the other thing that has really helped me though is that I've actually gone back to my childhood church, and I have found so much peace and rest in just that alone, because those are my people. That's my tribe. And, I stayed at the church that my ex-husband and I chose together. I was there for 14 years before I left and came back to my childhood church. And there was a lot of reasons why I did that. But I finally made a decision after a couple of years. I've been back there for the last 2 months, and I could not be happier. I could not feel more at peace when I'm with those people. And I think it's because I am now surrounding myself with the people who know and love me best and know what I'm going through right now and know that it's still stormy for me, and that I need them, and they're not afraid to stand around me. And so it's been very interesting to think that a decision like that could feel like it's leading you to rest.
Yeah.
And all I can say is just divine intervention, and that God will make rest out of things that you can't possibly imagine would give you rest. And so reinvesting in my spiritual life a little bit differently than what I have been, and going back to my roots in my faith tradition that I was brought up in, has been so refreshing for me. And I think that's probably what's getting me through this last little piece of me waiting on an answer that I'm waiting on, to be able to take a breath and just know that I have people around me who already know and love me and will hold my hand and hold me up no matter what's happening. That feels very restful to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because for so long, and this is something I've thought about for a long time, is that self-care became a checklist item on your to-do list. And when you look at social media or you look at Pinterest and 15 ways to do self-care, and I'm going, I don't need to do self-care. And your definition of self-care is way different than what my definition of self-care is. And what I'm hearing all of us say here is that we're finally leaning into that. What does rest and self-care, and rest as in restoration, what does that look like? And that is not a checklist item. It is a mindset. It's changing how we view things. It's community, asking to be held, being vulnerable. And that is a lesson that we're all learning in our 50s. It's not something we did very well in our 20s and 30s and 40s. It's taken us this time to go through this and understand it. And as we're talking about this, I'd like to add a quick little question in here. Your version of rest before a big event, whether it's 5 years ago, 10 years ago, last year, you do not come out of that the same person at the end of that. And I'm also hearing from all of us that our version and identity of what rest actually looks like is different on the other side of that big event. I sent out a survey earlier this year, and I asked the women, I said, if you've gone through a big event in your life, have you taken the time to really take a look at that and deal with it and acknowledge it? And only about 75% said they did. And I wish I could go back now and add on a question. Did you also evaluate that impact on your business? Because you have changed through that. I would like to go back and slip that in and get people to answer that one. But for all of you, is there something that jumps out at you that rest looks different for you before the big thing and how it looks after? How's your view of rest changed because of that?
I'll jump in. So my dad died suddenly January 22nd of 2024. And life hasn't been the same since that shocking phone call where I had to say goodbye to him being held up by the ER. Yeah. So my life hasn't felt the same. It's like my life before and my life after. And then there's been two other deaths since then, and numerous other things, and just family being family, and people, like lifing family in the hospital, family, needing more help. And so And I don't quite know who I am actually anymore. I mean, I do and I don't. And I actually know that you all will understand that. There's pieces of me I can't quite find anymore. And is it one triggering event? No. I mean, those were the most recent ones. I've got others in the past that, it's like when we have the one grief, it, brings up all the other griefs, and then and I just started back to therapy. I, I question people that just think, oh, I don't need that. Yes, of course you need therapy. We all need therapy. Come on now. And I'm a former therapist. So just like, give me all the help you can give me. Help me get my ass down the street to that group, that place. And it has, I'm doing some self-care this afternoon. My chiropractor's not going to be helping me with my brain, right? Or my heart. That is a different skill set. And knowing that I need to go to the expert, even if I am an expert, this is the hard part. Even if you are an expert in all those cute things that you talk about, blah, 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 blah. I need my own place where I can go in there. She doesn't know a damn thing about me. I'm like a clean slate to her. And I can sit there and cry for 60 minutes. Or scream, cuss, and yell. Whatever I need to do. Because I believe that I need that, and I'm glad I signed up, and I'm glad I'm paying. I also believe, sometimes we think, oh, I just am going to go to the free thing and the free this and the free workshop. And this is a free workshop, and no shame. We all do them. But like, I need to have some damn skin in the game, even when I hardly have any money. I need to have some skin in the game so that I know, hey, this is worth it, and I am damn well worth it to go do whatever this thing is. Sorry, I had a little TED Talk moment. Thank you for letting me share.
No, well, it just goes along with what Danielle said earlier, is that sometimes you have to get out there and be held accountable. And sometimes that takes putting money down on the table and say, hold me accountable. Otherwise, I'm going to forget that I need to do this. And yes, I started counseling the year that was 2025. I started counseling because I knew my stress levels were so high that I was having health problems, and I knew they were going to get worse. And I also knew that time with my mom was limited. So I knew that I was going to have an identity shift after her passing, and I was going to need support through that. And one of the things that she constantly asked me is, what is your body trying to tell you? What does your body want? And it has taken me over a year to really be able to listen. What does my body really want? And not be ashamed to say, you know what, right now it wants to sit on the floor with my hot pad and the fan blowing on me, because I like the weight and I like the heat, but sometimes I need the fan blowing on me so I don't get too hot. Or sometimes it is sitting on the edge of the couch and say, you know what, I just need to not have to make a decision. I want some TV that I can just sink into, or it's going every morning out and taking my dog for a walk. So learning to listen is such a difficult thing for women to do. And we're doing it finally in our 50s. So that's impressive. So anything you would like, Danielle?
Let me just say real quick about that. But that's what midlife is about. If you've ever read Dr. Christiane Northrup's book, The Wisdom of Menopause, you will know that what she says is true. This part of our life is hard because it's supposed to be hard. We are taking everything that we did and learned and thought about who we were in our teens and our 20s and our 30s and our 40s, and we are having to process that in a very short period of time to figure out what it is that our legacy is going to be and who we really are so we can finish strong. And that's no small deal. No one ever tells us in high school that this is coming. And even if they did, I don't know that we
believed them
because our frontal lobe is shut down and we don't really understand that risk. And so I think that's why it's so impactful. But because of everything we've got going on in society right now, it makes it even more impactful because you realize how short your time here is, and you got to get this right. Right now, there's grace and all that. Don't get me wrong, but we're here for a reason and a purpose. And I, for one, don't want to get to heaven and have God go, why didn't you do what I told you to do? No, that is not going to happen. So I think that's why we feel this pressure, because we know we're here for a reason. We know we're here to walk that out, and we have to figure out how to do that. And unfortunately, sometimes it can get really lonely. And so what Diane said, I totally resonate with right now about not knowing who you are. And because those big events can change that in a heartbeat.
Yes.
And we're not prepared for that. And so we have to find people who can help walk us through that. I'm a licensed social worker. I still say, yes, go get therapy, right? I've had it myself. So I get it. And so I don't want us to miss that because of our age group, right? We are in the throes of menopause and midlife right now. Most all of us are, if not almost through it. And don't lose sight of that, because this is an important time for us. And so just trying to get through it is one thing, but learning from what we're going through is the most important part. I just don't want us to lose sight of that, because I just feel like it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm also an ex-therapist, so I have your person. And I tell my community this, and I had to tell my community that while I show up 58 hours a week and I have team members that are showing up, I'm not showing up all 58 hours, but we as a community are showing up 58 hours a week for our community. I had to go find my own. And that was a really hard lesson for me to learn in the last year. Is I built this amazing community. I love my community for everyone that needs it. But I also need my space too. And I need my space of that I don't have to be for everyone else, that I can be just for me. And that was a really, really hard lesson for me to get. Because I have, like, right now I'm looking at my body doubling. I have it on a second screen, and I've got 9 women all in there right now. They're all perimenopausal, neurodivergent women, most of which just learning they're neurodivergent. And they're all chatting, and they're all there. But I also know that I can't go in there and just share with, I had a hot flat, like I can't share what I need in that community. Even though I've created it for other women, I can't always just be me there. So finding my space and learning to look for those spaces for myself was a really hard lesson for me. To let go and just be for me only, and not me taking care of everybody else.
Yeah. And that's such a big definition of rest that we never, ever were taught or ever even considered, that we need that type of community where, and that opportunity to be us, to be seen, to be heard, and not have to take on the responsibility of making all the decisions and leading. And because you cannot lead and be vulnerable in the way that we need to a lot of times at the same time. There's a place for us to lead, and there's a place for us to show up and get the support that we need. And that can be very hard to find, for one, let alone acknowledge that's what we need, and how stress relieving it is when you actually find it. So that's one of the reasons this conversation felt important right now, is that so many of us are needing to look at rest differently, not as the to-do list item, but really finding rest for restoration's sake. And because we all have gone through tough stuff, and you do come out the other side so different. So yeah. When we are looking at finding community or finding ways that rest actually is meaningful and restorative to us, one thing I've talked to my audience a lot, the Lord gave me this on a walk end of last year, because I was so tired and I was so stressed out with everything going on with my mom and my business. And out of the blue, he just said, it starts with rest. And I'm going, okay, what does that mean? What are you supposed to, I wasn't sure what to do with it. I went and bought the domain, of course, because Diane has taught me well. So I went and bought the domain and said, Lord, I have no idea what you want me to do with this. And eventually he started to show me things, but he said, rest is what makes it possible to build a simple and sustainable business. I went, oh, okay. So there we go. And it helped me see that building a simple, sustainable business, building a simple and sustainable life is possible. For me, has to start with rest, because that's what gives me a clear head. That's what allows me to get into my Bible on the days that my brain is so busy and I'm looking for distractions. my Bible isn't the first thing I pick up, but when I'm more rested and when I'm focused, I pick up my Bible. I do get out into community. I can ask for help, hold me accountable. What does it look like for you now to work from a place of rest, and not rest? Again, we're not talking about sleep here. We're talking about working from a place of rest so that we are looking at simplicity and sustainably moving forward. What does that look like for you? And any of you can jump in here and start there.
That rest for me right now looks like making sure I do get in my Bible, no matter where my brain is. And as I said, I super mega busy brain most of the time, but does my study look the same every day? Absolutely not. Some days it's listening to something. Some days it's worship music on full blast, driving my dog nuts. Some days it's sitting and just praying. Some days it's looking at the names in my list of my community and just praying for them. Some days it's sitting and doing a Bible study. And Bible study for me is a craft project. I'm writing in my Bible and I'm adding flaps and I'm adding pictures and stickers, and my dining room table is a complete and total chaotic mess. But learning that was okay, that it didn't always have to be the same, was a huge part of learning to rest in Him.
No. Yeah, so much of the time, even when self-care has become a to-do list item, a lot of times in how it's presented in media, so is Bible study. You have to do a certain way. You have to do it for an hour. You have to check off all these boxes in order to have that perfect Instagram square version of your Bible study. And yeah, learning that it doesn't have to be the same every day. Learning it doesn't have to be a prescribed thing has been very freeing for me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just getting over the fear of missing out. I have had to come to a place where when I leave my office in the afternoon, I have to be okay with what's been done and know that what got done was what needed to get done, and that everything will be there for me tomorrow, and God's just going to have to sort it out, because there are some days where it's all I can do just to get out of bed, right? So,
Yeah.
Instead of trying to pack my day full of things like I used to and just see how quickly I can get through my to-do list, which, by the way, if that was an Olympic sport, I would have like quadruple gold medaled in that already. Instead of doing that anymore, I look at my planner and I'm like, okay, let's just see what we can get done. What does your energy level tell you that you can get done? And I take great joy now in just being able to check off the things that I know I can do at this point, knowing that those were probably things that did need to get done, and everything else will be waiting for me tomorrow, and God will help my brain sort it out. And so just trying to lean into that part of that rest, just rest knowing that I didn't miss anything, or if I had just done one more thing, my business would grow to $1 million tomorrow. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I know Diane's laughing at me, but you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
Like just letting it be what it is, and knowing that if I did miss something, I have full faith that God's going to bring it to the forefront at some point when it's time. That has been so hard for me as an overachiever. It's been really, really hard for me, but that's the one lesson I think that has brought me some rest, is that you do what you can do. You give yourself some grace and just know that God's got this, and whatever needs to get done, because I'm willing to get it done, He will bring it to the forefront if it needs to happen sooner than I think it does. And so I've just had to kind of learn to lean into that and be okay with it.
Yeah.
I mean, we gotta laugh, seriously. Yeah, so
I missed my $1 million opportunity today.
you missed
That's how
it.
it works.
They just called and you missed it. You thought it was a spam.
Right.
So in the morning, I do for me, a lot of my God time is in the morning on my walks, and even then, it's like I'm in movement. I'm having a talk and a walk with God and with friends, with people, having the chats on the Voxer and the Telegram and the WhatsApp and everywhere, and that's important to me. It's important to me, and also, like has been said, God is my source. I mean, I am not God, right? But I can get all into my ego oh, I can fix this. And oh, if I go to that one next webinar, that's probably, she has all those answers, like I haven't found her in 22 years. And that one girl has every answer I've ever needed. And I just pay her $100. And just remembering acceptance in the AA big book, there's this whole the whole big old saying, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. Because that's it. I have to accept this is my current life. This is my current body. This is where I live. But everything in me wants to rebel against that. No, I don't want to live here. No, this is not my, I mean, it's just so much drama on my insides. And I know I'm not the only one, people. Like, oh, I want to control. I want to plan and control and check things off. And like, really, it just doesn't work like that.
No.
I do get a lot of shit done. I do. And we do. We get so much done. And there's still more to do. There's still more to do. And there always will be more to do. And there's always some crisis going to be going on in the world too. So people are like, oh, the world. I'm like, how's that different than last year or the year before or 2020? Like, let's stop using that as an excuse. I have to accept life on life's terms. This is today, and I think it's Tuesday, and it's about 1:46. And I'm going to do the best I can today. And I'm going to eat the best I can. I'm going to see some people. I'm going to call some people. I'm going to drive down the street. and I'm going to stay sober. I am going to stay sober today. And that's my commitment as well. Like, how can I not have in AA, we talk about emotional sobriety. And I think I need to talk more about that in the real world, because most people are not walking around emotionally sober. Emotional sobriety means I am like not, I'm not the best and I'm not the worst. And I'm one with the people. I'm here, I'm with you all, and we're going to, do our best here on this conversation with Marta. And I'm going to be present with you.
No. I was just listening to an old message from Elizabeth Elliot that was popped up into my inbox, and she was quoting Amy Carmichael. And Amy Carmichael was saying, at some point, I need to change the word submission to acceptance. That acceptance allows me to say, yes, okay, here I am right here, Lord, you can handle this. And that just really, that, as you were saying that, Diane, that word acceptance, that was just like, yeah, surrender is acceptance, that you're in control and I'm not, and I'm really glad that I'm not. Because there's enough with other things I need that are hard enough, and I don't need to be responsible for all those decisions. So as we're talking about, especially as our faith plays a part in this, in your communities and the people that you work with, why do you think Christian women specifically have such a hard time with learning this lesson of rest? And what does it look like for them, not what the church tells them it needs to look like, or social media, or their community? Why do you think Christian women specifically have such a hard time with this concept of rest and restoration? I was just reading again in Luke, where Jesus is in the boat, and he said, he's been working, he's been teaching with the disciples. He says, we're going to go to the other side of the lake. He falls asleep. The storm hits, calms the storm. He withdraws to the garden to pray. He withdraws with the disciples to go eat with them and be with them in community. So why in your communities and people you talk to, why do you think Christian women struggle with this so much? And if Danielle, if you don't mind, we'll start with you this time.
So I have a major theory on this. I could info dump on this for about 20 hours. So one of the things that I really see, especially in the neurodivergent community, is we were always told that we weren't being faithful enough because our neurodivergence was getting in the way. So we did more to prove that we could, and we needed to make sure that we were pleasing all of the people in our lives. So that meant doing more. Every time the church doors are open, we were the ones doing, because women were the servants. We're there to do. And part of that's Western civilization, because other countries have third spaces and do rest and take that siesta every afternoon and understand that Sundays are for family and for rest. And here in the US, we do not do that. And my husband and I were missionaries for a year and a half in Africa. And every day there was rest. The women rested, the men rested, the children, everybody rested, the animals rested. There was just silence and rest and being built into everything they do. And that is not something that we teach. And women in church were like, always serve. You're there to serve. You're there to be a servant. You're there to be and be helpful and true and do what your children come first and your husband comes second, and then the church. And then if there's anything left over, maybe think about yourself. And that's not what the Lord has taught us. And like you said, scripture in Luke, anywhere teaches us to rest and take that rest and to be and give and use what God has given us. And rest is part of those things that he has given us. And it's very much what we're not taught here in the Western cultures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything from you or Diane or Melissa on that one?
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. So we were talking before we came on air that we love being part of the Gen Xers. But I do know that from my own faith tradition, the way I grew up, I don't know that anybody could have ever anticipated how we live now. And so how we grew up was, yeah, you grow up, you get married, you finish high school, you get married, you might go to college as a woman because God forbid your husband ever died or left you. You would need something to fall back on. Has anybody ever heard those words? And yeah, the women did a lot of the work at the church. It was always the taking care of the babies and all of the meals and all of if anybody was sick, my grandmother was the pie making queen. If anybody had come home from the hospital, she had 2 pies ready to go just as soon as they walked in the door. And God love her, the woman was a saint. And she taught me everything I know about hospitality. But I do remember my grandmother being very tired a lot, especially in her older days. And so I think, without being too harsh on our ancestors, because I just don't think they could have anticipated what we're dealing with today, I think they did the best they could with what they had. And I think that we absorbed what we saw. We are only like what we saw, right? And honestly, that's where I feel comfortable. I swear, if anybody were to just come and sweep me off my feet and say, you never have to work again, just be a domestic engineer, I would take him up on it. I'm not going to lie, okay? I'm just not going to lie. But that's not how it works. And so I think we, in this generation, are dealing with 2 different realities. One of them is how we grew up with, and we feel like if we don't hold true to that, there's something wrong with us as a woman and as a Christian woman. Mm. But on the other hand, this is, as Diane was saying, this is the day and time we live in. Where do those 2 come together? Where do we put this thing in its place and say, thank you for this, but this is what I have to deal with now, and I have to figure out how to deal with that to the best of my ability and not feel guilty about what was said back here, because these are just 2 different times that we're living in.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm jumping in. Yeah, I mean, I believe there's a lot of guilt and shame that I feel related to serving and giving and volunteering and being available. But there's also this martyrdom. There's this, be a martyr, and I can see it in some of my family members I won't mention. And then it's like, oh gosh, I do that too. Like, oh, woe is me, I'm serving and I'm giving, and what's wrong with me? Just this whole, and it's like, okay, well, wait, how am I doing that on a daily basis? How am I doing that in my Facebook groups, in this other free group over here? How am I giving and giving and giving and like expecting somehow they're going to figure out that I do have a payment button. There is a PayPal. And when is my rock bottom moment where I just say enough is enough? enough is enough, right? And so, I mean, the Christian piece of it all, yeah, it's complicated, super complicated, because it feels like I'm going against everything I learned and everything everything built into me. But I'm not. Um, so yeah, I love this conversation. I mean, there's so much to unpack. There's so much to untangle from. Is that, asking myself, is that really true? Like, and being willing to sit with unanswers, sit with my own unanswers long enough to feel whatever feelings come up, because I don't want to walk around either. I keep mentioning AA because it's important to me, but there's a whole thing in Al-Anon where it's like, mothering, martyrdom, managing, and manipulating. It's like, oh damn, check, check, check. And it's not my job to tell you that you're doing that. Like, that's not my job. It's not my job to go, Dr. Melissa, I see you being, gross. I have enough to deal with in my own self. Where am I mothering all my people? Where am I being a martyr? Where am I trying to manage all, my husband, my dog, my mom, whoever? And how am I trying to manipulate? It's like, oh, okay, deal with your own self. Deal with your own self, Diane. And don't blame Jesus for it, Like, we can just be very like victim-y, playing our sad song, because we're really great Christians.
Yeah. And we get, like we've all said, that there's validation from showing up and being the caregiver. There's validation and identity in being the one that's responsible and chronically capable. Yes. And it is a battle. It's a mental battle to say, you know what? It's okay to rest. It's okay to ask, why do I feel that validation? Because I'm doing and I'm giving and I'm serving, and sometimes to our own detriment, and also sometimes to the detriment of the person we're trying to serve, because we're not able to then to show up fully as us, as our created beings, to serve them in the way that we're called, because we're exhausted. Mm-hmm. So I think I know that's a battle that I've had to fight, especially coming off a very intense caregiving season, as I knew my identity was going to shift when that caregiving and that advocating was not my everyday. I have to go figure out what's next. And it's been eye-opening to think, oh, okay, yeah, I was getting a lot of validation for the last 15, 20 years of being a caregiver in multiple different ways. And so now I'm having to, like Diane, there's some parts I don't know who I am anymore without that day in, day out fight of caregiving. And it's been humbling, but it's an important question to ask. Okay, Lord, who am I? Without that caregiving title, who am I? And thankfully, he's gently answering that question and not forcing me to step into some sort of preconceived notion. He's just saying, we're just going to take this step by step. So as we wrap up here, any last words that you would like for Shelby here who came, but also to all the people who didn't show up, and I'll be sending the replay and I'll be sharing this on the podcast later. What's one final word of encouragement you would like to give anybody who listens to this about the importance of rest and finding what kind of rest restores them?
If you don't know how to rest, come find another group of women to ask. Because it can look like coloring in a coloring book. It could look like going and playing hopscotch. It could look like going to Disney World with a group of women, which I've gotten to do multiple times now, which I never did as a kid. And I think is the greatest, most fun thing in the world, because we get to laugh and act like idiots and be fun. But rest can look like watching a movie and playing a game and crocheting and reading a book all at the same time. What does rest look like for you? And if you don't know what that is, come ask what other people are doing so you can try it. Because sometimes it's poke and hope until you find what works for you.
Yeah, I would say that if you feel like something is not right in your body, don't ignore it like I did. I honestly believe the only reason I did not have a stroke in the ER that day 2 years ago in November is because God still got something for me to do here. I honestly should be dead. It was just that bad. And so don't ignore symptoms. Be brave enough, as Diane would say, be brave enough to go and find out what's going on, because 9 times out of 10, there's something that can help you and you will feel better. That's the payoff. You will feel better. You just need to ask for help, and don't let it get to the point where you're about to have a stroke, right? It's just not worth it. So listen to your body and go do what you need to do to get healthy. And just know that the body has everything that it needs to be able to heal itself, but you need to help it sometimes. So don't be the reason that you stay stuck in a place where you don't need to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say we've just been doing what I feel a sense of relief. And I'm realizing more and more that that's really what people need. That's relief is related to rest. Like I can take a deep breath. And that happens for me when we have honest conversations. It's like, and we've just done that. And like has been said by Danielle, like finding, as the leaders, we're all leaders, finding our place where, I just get to sit down. I'm sitting down in the crowd. And it just feels so important. So just the relief of finding those places, and you might need one, you might need a few. You might need a few of those safe rooms that you go sit in, and you're just one of the bozos on the bus, is what we say at AA. Just be one of the bozos on the bus. You're not the president. Sit down. Sit down and feel that just deep breath. And we've done that with our small gathering, our community here today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it starts with rest. And it's a hard lesson to learn, that rest is what makes life possible. And that if we don't pay attention, there are dire consequences in health and how we take care of ourselves, but how we want to show up for others. And if we don't have that foundation of rest to work from, and remember, God slept. He slept in the boat, and he got up and quieted the storm. And then he went and had meals with the disciples, and he did withdraw to the garden to pray, and he didn't feel guilty about it. And that's a big one for all of us. So thank you, all of you, for coming. Thank you for the panelists. Thank you for those of you who are watching now, those of you who are going to be watching the replay. Thank you so much. This is such an important conversation we need to have. And I do hope you all felt that exhale of, I can just be here and breathe and not perform and just be in community. And we all need it. So thank you very much. The replay will be going out via email no later than tomorrow afternoon. And thank you so much for all of you coming and being a part of this conversation.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you again for joining me in this special episode with this panel discussion. I pray you got something out of this, that you found inspiration to find ways to rest that fit you. If you would like more information about our panel guests, please look at the show notes. There you will find a link to a Google Doc with all their information, their links, how to contact them, any special offers or freebies they have available for you. And if you would like to dive further in what type of rest that you need, I invite you to take my rest quiz. And it's at itstartswithrest.com/quiz. Answer a few questions, and it will give you a detailed report of what type of rest you need to focus on right now. Thank you again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.